We all know the effects on our lives caused by this pandemic. And everywhere we see actions and efforts done by European governments fail again and again, which leads to lockdown after lockdown. Some countries are on their third general lockdown, others on the second. But whenever the economy is reopened and a bit of normal life is resumed, the virus starts to spread again. This is not criticism, these are facts we all have experienced, and that has led to more deaths. Currently, over 2 million deaths to regret. So this is war, a global war against the virus and its disease. Hospitals worldwide are fighting the disease, but they can't win unless we stop the virus. And to stop the virus, we need strategy and a plan of action. My name is GP Jacinto, and I'm here to present a guideline to overcome this horrible pandemic caused by the coronavirus 2. A guideline and a method to overcome it. When the virus was first discovered in China, their government isolated the region to contain it, which was a very correct thing to do. And they had some partial success in doing it. The problem was that, being a new virus, nobody in the world had information about it. It was all new, and therefore no one knew how seriously dangerous it was and how it was spreading. So, by the time the Chinese learned something about it and took measures, the virus was already out of Wuhan city. So the government isolated the whole province of Wuhan and contained it inside China. However, out of China, the countries were not ready to cope with the virus until the death toll started to rise dramatically. And it spread all over the world before the information about it was discovered. So the important part is that the containment did work on Wuhan. And it's proof that containment does work. Let's call it proof number 1. But the virus is now everywhere. It's pointless to isolate an area or a country. Or is it not? Another known fact is that the virus only still exists due to active chains of transmission. If we could stop all the chains of transmission worldwide simultaneously for 2 months, we would eradicate the virus completely. But we know that is impossible now. No one has the power to order a worldwide lockdown, and nobody would accept it. However, breaking the chains of transmission does stop the virus from spreading. And without spreading, it cannot survive long. Let's call it proof number 2. We also know that the individual isolation measures, by the use of masks and social distance, helps to contain the virus from spreading. The following months after the first lockdown in Europe were quite successful by adopting those measures. While the schools were closed and the classes were done online, the adult population was following the mask and distance rules, and children were mostly at home. So it led to a reduction on new infections and, inherently, to a lower death toll during the summer months. But the virus was still active. And chains of transmission were still going on, although in small numbers, when European countries decided to resume normal life and reopen schools. That was a mistake. Because of that decision, all over Europe, the numbers of infections started to rise again, followed by an increase in the death toll. Let me give you the example of Portugal. Portugal was having around 200 new found infections per month in the end of the summer, with a COVID-19 daily death toll around 2 or 3 deaths per day. Then, in September, the schools reopened, and in October, the number of new infections was over 2,000 per day, which led to near 45 deaths per day in days to come. Yet, nothing was done. Government officials must have thought they had the numbers contained, and that they could contain the numbers. And so, the holidays came with little restrictions, and the numbers kept going higher. By January 2021, the number of new infections had reached 10,000 people per day, which derived into 200 deaths per day in days to come. Then, the government made a partial lockdown, while keeping the schools opened, and the numbers kept on rising to near 14,000 new infections every day, which resulted in more than 250 deaths per day. The government finally closed all schools and took some more severe measures to avoid even higher death tolls. It is now January 30th, and Portugal is now waiting for the numbers to drop from record highs. Fortunately, science has produced vaccines in record time, and by first analysis with a good degree of success. But unfortunately, the production of vaccines for all the world is a slow process. As we have seen in current times, in the current rate, it will take years before a majority of the world population is vaccinated. And this is a world pandemic. It won't stop until we have eradicated all chains of transmission, which will happen with the vaccine in some years. But even months can mean horrible death tolls. So we cannot just wait for the vaccine alone to solve the problem, as we cannot just wait on healthcare to treat everyone. It is clear that small measures or half measures do not work on stopping the pandemic. It is also clear that people cannot stop working or they will starve to death. Also clear that the vaccine is not an immediate solution. Obviously, if we keep having lockdown after lockdown, the whole economy will collapse and people will have no way to support life. We can't keep acting as we have been acting by risk of finding ourselves in a no-exit situation. A plan is required. Just like the Marshall Plan was designed for the economy recession, the Jacinto Plan is designed for the virus eradication. It is a strategy that combines with vaccination. It aims to contain the viral spreading, thus allowing time for the world population to be vaccinated. The plan is somehow similar to what the Chinese have done in Wuhan, but in reverse engineering. Let me explain. It consists on defending small areas where the virus has been eradicated and isolating those areas. It's almost impossible to isolate the virus in a whole country, but it can be done in small areas with small populations. Bigger cities with airports will be lost due to their concentrations and the means required. It's the Green Island strategy, on which every small area free of COVID will be isolated like an island. And area by area, when two green islands touch each other, they will form a bigger island of COVID-free population. And bit by bit, the green islands will form provinces or countries free from COVID-19. The plan is that simple, but implementation is very hard. It requires heavy isolation measures with no half terms. It will take at least 3 weeks before the first islands are confirmed. And a set of rules must be enforced with no tolerance from authorities. Rules for the non-green areas. First rule for isolation is that everyone uses social masks on all public spaces, including outside. The social distance of 1.5 meters must be observed in all open business and government spaces. Public transports must require the use of N95 masks and have their traffic increased, with no exceptions. No travel among councils or provinces. Each council will be a unit island. Schools should not be working until the end of pandemic. A war is no place for children. Children over 10 or 12 years old can have online classes. Same thing for university. Children learning to read will have to postpone their education. No eating or drinking on restaurant balconies. Only seated places with social distance. Same for bars. No drinking in balconies. Only in seated places with the social distance. Home confinement mandatory until area has become a green island. Only walks outside. Use of car only allowed for medical emergencies or buying groceries, food. No collective sports allowed. Only individual exercises like jogging or cycling near home. Full restrictions after midnight. No exits. From midnight to 6 a.m., everyone stays at home. And whole business should be closed by 11 p.m. Now the good part. Rules for the Green Islands. Once an area or council is confirmed to have no cases of infection during 2 weeks, meaning no active cases during 14 days or more, it can be classified as a Green Island Council. Green Islands have less limitations during war on COVID. Everyone uses social mask on all spaces, including outside, keeps the social distance of 1.5 meters most of the time. Public transports will be allowed to use any kind of masks. No travel among councils, though, or provinces. No going outside the green areas. Schools should not be working until the end of pandemic. Again, the war is no place for children. Children over 12 can have online classes. Same thing for university. Children learning to read have to postpone their education. No eating or drinking in restaurant balconies. Only in seated places, with the social distance assured. Same thing for bars. This means a partial return to normality inside the green area, and the possibility to expand it into the neighbor council if that one is also a green island. Also means free travel inside the green islands and no hour restrictions. The more green councils touch each other, the longer travel distance will be allowed to travel. I think this is an easy plan to understand. Also easy to understand that the following plan will generate in time into larger areas free from coronavirus too. But always remember, it's only possible with your help. You must do your part and not try to find a way to go around it. If we all do our share, before summer, we can have a big part of our lives and jobs back. So governments can see it and enforce it. I'm GP Jacinto, a Portuguese architect and scientist. Thanks for watching.